That's not what you do when you miss. No, I did not need to see a close-up. Why are you growing plants on a toilet seat? Huh? Welcome back, casual gardeners. Everyone's heard of 5 Minutes Crafts. Well, one of their videos about gardening popped up in my feed, and it's not 100% garbage. Some of their suggestions are just bonkers or stupid, like the toilet thing. Some contain the seeds of good ideas, but won't work the way they've executed them. And some are actually good. Is the banana supposed to be a source of potassium? Potting mix that contains balanced nutrients is actually really easy to find, and you can just get that and eat the banana, especially since I expect banana prices are about to go up. This is actually a really great way to water tricky potted plants. I also use it on orchids sometimes. All I would add is that it's important to make sure that the water you're using is something that isn't going to damage your plant. And the reason I bring that up is because where I live, the tap water is very, very hard, and hard water can damage and even kill an orchid. The cactus would probably be fine. So as long as your water is compatible with what you're watering in that way, it's actually a really great idea. Good job, 5 Minute Crafts. Melting plastic into soil is a really, really bad idea, like super bad. Use a shovel or some scissors or anything sharp and just physically cut the plastic to open it. Please do not ever melt plastic in your garden. Yes, you absolutely do need to worry about hitting your tree with a weed whacker. All those repeated tiny injuries to the bark can add up, and you can end up girdling your tree and killing it. So 5 Minute Crafts has a good core idea. You don't want to girdle your tree. That grass shouldn't be there in the first place. There should never be turf grass all the way up to the base of a tree. Where that happens, the grass is in direct competition with the tree for both water and nutrients. Sometimes people forget that mechanical pest removal, like not using pesticides, is absolutely an option, and sometimes it's the best option. If you have little plastic bugs on your plant and you need to remove them, you can absolutely use some slime to do that. Or maybe it'll work on real ones. I don't know. I've never wanted bugs in my slime. Slime is a precious commodity. Alternatively, you can use a washcloth with dilute soapy solution on it. Ideally, you should use a soap that's not going to strip the waxy cuticle off the leaves and dry them out. So if you're going to use a soap, I'd recommend an insecticidal soap. Those are formulated to be less harmful to the leaves. Birds are not repelled by soap. No matter how smelly or colorful your soap is, the birds are just gonna hang out around it and probably not notice it very much. I don't know where 5 Minute Crafts got the idea for this. It's a bad one. That's a waste of soap. However, the birds do say thank you for the soap on a rope. It helps ensure that they will not drop the soap. Gravity feed chicken feeders are a real thing, and you absolutely can DIY them. My only beef with the video is that their design is, as they show, inherently unstable, and you're going to end up wasting a lot of chicken feed. And eggs are already expensive enough. I mean, it doesn't even matter what you use. You can use like a wire trash can, or they actually make wire cloches that are purpose-built for protecting your plants. One thing I would say about the milk crates is that they do block a lot of light. It's probably not going to hurt the lettuce. Lettuce can deal with dappled shade just fine. You might want to use landscape staples to actually fix that to the ground so they don't blow away or get moved by particularly persistent, adorable dogs. If your watermelon is threatened by CGI insects, you can repel them by burning coffee grounds. So there is a kernel of truth in this really bizarre suggestion. Smoke and fire repel most living things. I don't think that anytime you have food out, you necessarily want to smell burning coffee. So I think that's a bad idea for that reason. That one's a near miss. You absolutely can modify milk jugs in that way to make a mini greenhouse. I would recommend leaving the cap off to vent any hot air so you don't actually cook your seedlings. The reason it's a near miss is that it's best used for winter stratification. That's where you leave your seeds in soil out over the winter so that they will have improved germination in the spring, or you can use them to protect tender seedlings in the spring. Every single one of the seeds that they're claiming to have planted in the milk jugs is actually not frost tender, and you can just direct sow it in the early spring without worrying about it. Oil traps are really real and they really work. So you can use any oil for your top layer, and you can use any watery solution that has a strong odor for your bottom level layer in your oil trap. The critters at night will be attracted by the strong odor and be like, maybe that's food, let's check it out. They'll fall through the oil into the water. The oil kind of breaks the surface tension so they can't get out. It also kind of clogs the spiracles or breathing holes in their body, so they drown extra efficiently. So first of all, that baby rodent is adorable. Thank you, 5 Minute Crafts, just for the footage of an adorable baby rodent. Second, that's not cat fur, that's cotton batting. Everyone who's interacted with a cat knows that cat fur doesn't behave that way. Third, rodents with toxoplasmosis, which is a thing rodents can get, are actually attracted to cats, and having cat fur in your garden will increase the number of rodents. And 4, if there's not an actual cat around, the presence of cat fur will not deter rodents. So great footage of a baby rodent, bad idea. So capsaicin is actually a naturally occurring pesticide. It's a pesticide that we enjoy. I've got a bunch of capsaicin producing plants in my garden. I'm excited to eat them up. But if you were an insect, it would affect your nervous system and your developmental processes and possibly kill you. So it's an insecticide. For reals, y'all. But please do not put powdered peppers in your spray applicator because it has fine holes in the spray tip and they'll just clog it. This idea is legit, and it will work for attractive, even spacing in your garden, just as long as the muffin tin you're using is appropriate for the spacing of what you want to plant. It is cheaper, probably, than buying one of those square foot gardening stencil things. Does the same job. You're gonna have a good time. Go ahead. It's good advice. If a cucumber is edible, it's actually not going to have viable seeds. The cucumbers we eat are immature. A mature cucumber, in addition to being quite a bit bigger, is also going to be a different color from green. They're going to turn yellow or sometimes even orange, and they're going to develop a hard rind. So if your cucumber is tasty, You're just wasting a perfectly good cucumber. That goes on a sandwich, not in your garden. Red bell peppers are going to contain mature seeds. That is the mature state of the fruit. So that is correct. You could conceivably plant bell peppers in the way that they're doing it. But one thing that is really off-putting for me is just the idea of the amount of thinning you're gonna have to do. That's a ton of seeds. However, kudos to 5 Minute Crafts for showing actual seedlings that look like they could be pepper seedlings. This one's a near miss. You cannot grow potatoes on a lawn, but if you have some bare soil and you're making good soil contact, so they're just pressed into the soil slightly, you actually can get decent potato growth by just covering them with a thick layer of straw mulch. However, if you are a regular viewer of my channel, you also know that the potatoes are the one crop I cannot seem to grow with any amount of success. So you take my feedback with a grain of salt. That's all I'm saying. So I think it's important to address this because it's something a lot of people believe, that if you put something that's less dense or more porous in the bottom part of a pot, you're going to somehow improve the drainage through the pot. And it feels intuitive. It feels like a good idea. This is something I used to believe. So don't feel bad if you believe this. However, what you're really doing is you're creating a break in the soil structure. And water has a thing called surface tension. So it's going to cling to the soil on its way through and it clings to itself. When it moves to a less dense structure, it will actually start to cling to the bottom of the denser soil and it will move more slowly. We are in fact decreasing drainage when we do our intuitive, let's improve the drainage thing. This is another terrible idea that could have been a good idea. Glue will cure fast enough in most cases that before your little creepy crawly gets up to it, the glue will have, it's not going to be sticky anymore. However, you can apply Vaseline to a tree trunk. Vaseline stays goopy and it will interfere with the little clawy bits on a creepy crawly and keep it from climbing up your tree. So you can protect your fruits from earwigs or caterpillars or whatever that would otherwise come up the trunk and interfere with them. So you really can do a thing like this. It just doesn't work the way 5 Minute Crafts says it works. I love thermal mass.
I've got some thermal mass, and a good thermal mass really takes some.
And water is an absolutely amazing thermal mass. You would not believe how much heat energy you can store in water. Having water around a frost tender plant is actually going to help protect that plant. In fact, if you have a frost coming, you can even spray your plants down with water, and that will give you a little bit of extra protection as well. Cinnamon does not repel ants. I think there are a lot of folk remedies out there for insects that involve stinky stuff with a strong smell. I mean, I love the smell of cinnamon. It's a good stink. But insects do not interact with odor in the same way that we do. And cinnamon does not mean the same thing to an ant that it does to us. The ants are just going to crawl over that cinnamon as if it is just a layer of fine dirt and do what they're going to do. Luckily, ants are not a threat to most plants in our gardens. I don't understand why we would need to protect them from ants. If someone burns your tiny oranges with a cigarette, protect them with a plastic mesh, is what I'm getting from that video clip. So the clip is stupid, but it does actually contain the seeds of good advice once again. So you can have actual insects, probably the ones that don't don't smoke, come along and damage your developing fruit. So you can cover those with a fine mesh textile, like even like nylon stockings, if you don't want to pay for like garden specific stuff. And that will prevent young insects from getting into your fruits, and it will protect your fruits from having eggs laid on them by moths and things if your pore size is small enough. And it should be flexible enough to allow that fruit to grow and develop without stunting it. So that is real gardening tech that they're showing, but their execution, from visualization to the materials they use, is 100% garbage. Beer traps are a classic way to control slugs and snails in the garden. This is 100% good advice. You can leave a basin of beer in your garden and you will find dead slugs and snails floating in the beer. However, the beer will not leave you with hollow shells. The only hollow shells induced by beer in my life are, well, my hollow shell. You're also going to want to make sure there are no adorable dog pests present in your garden, because they will drink the beer. And that's it. We've gone through all of the video that I felt like it was worth going through. There's a lot of BS that I did not address in the video. So again, find it from a link in the description if you really want to support that channel. You've just wasted a bunch of your time watching this video. Now go weed your garden as penance for your sins. Like this video and subscribe to my channel if you've been particularly naughty. Let's have a discussion. Also, I'm just hungry for interaction. Interact with me. Thank you so much for joining me here in my garden today, and I hope you have a wonderful time in your own garden.